That's an impounded Imperial ship. What's your call sign, pilot?
We have to go.
It's
Say something. Come on.
Rogue? Rogue One.
Crazy crab in the house. It's time for my review of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Before I start my review, let me just let everyone know this is going to be extremely positive. So if you can't handle me talking good about a Disney-era Star Wars film, you may as well get the out now, because this is going to be a love festival coming up. Apart from the original trilogy, Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie, and it's not even close. Next closest is Revenge of the Sith, but Rogue One to me is definitely superior because I can watch the whole thing beginning to end, completely enjoying myself, and suicidal thoughts do not once enter my mind. And these days, that is the standard for a good Star Wars movie. Let's get started. The most glaring difference at the start of this movie is the absence of the opening crawl, which I didn't mind. They kept the "a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away" shot, which is what really tells us it's time for Star Wars. Buckle your seatbelt. For better or worse, this is going to be a wild ride. In this case, it was actually a good and a fun ride. I honestly, truly enjoyed this movie when I watch it. I just watched it on May the 4th, and I enjoyed every minute of it. I see it's a quality movie. It has quality acting, quality direction, quality screenwriting. I know many disagree, and maybe I'm just so used to the poor quality of the other Disney movies and even the prequels, but I don't think so. I think this is actually really a well-done movie in my opinion. And I'll try not to get into the normal drama we experience with Lucasfilm these days, but I do want to say I'm aware they had major problems filming this movie, but I think it ended up for the best. Kathleen, good old Kathleen, has created such a disaster with Lucasfilm, and filming gets so bad in these movies that it's becoming routine that you need to grab a Hollywood veteran director or screenwriter to come in and fix everything. And for this one, that person was Tony Gilroy, who was a screenwriter for the Jason Bourne movies. And I'm a huge, huge, huge fan of those movies. In fact, I like most of the films Tony Gilroy has been involved in. So it's no surprise to me that he was able to fix it. And I give him, even though obviously I wasn't there on set to know exactly what he fixed and how, but I give him most of the credit. And when I watch this movie, I see his style, I see his influence, and I really believe he saved this project. And I'm very grateful, because now there's a Star Wars movie apart from the original trilogy that I truly enjoy beginning to end. And that's all I really asked for a Star Wars movie. And I really think that's what happened. I think there was no choice. I think that was the only way they were going to get the movie out on time, was to grab someone who actually knew what they were doing. And Kathleen Kennedy did not have time to dictate, do this, do that, do that. She just said, just please fix this movie. We're in big trouble. And he said, I got you, Kath. And now we have Rogue One. So yeah, I think that she was like, please fix this anthology movie while Rian Johnson and I work on my social justice warrior project, aka The Last Jedi. And it all turned out great for Rogue One anyway, not so much for The Last Jedi. Anyway, here goes. It's going to be spoilers, but obviously everyone has seen it, so here we go. If you haven't, then don't watch this unless you're never going to watch it. In which case, why would you want to watch the review if you're never even going to watch the movie and you're not interested? Why are you here? Okay, the plot of Rogue One comes straight from the original Star Wars movie opening crawl, now that we call that movie A New Hope. And it said, rebel spies managed to steal secret plans to the Empire's ultimate weapon, the Death Star, an armored space station with enough power to destroy an entire planet. This is the story of those rebels who need to steal the Death Star plans from the Empire, because those plans could have information on how to destroy the thing. Right from the get-go, I love the start of this movie. Young Jen Erso, just a little girl, you feel the tension right off the bat. An emergency situation. Her and her parents are rushing around. Something big is about to go down. Immediately, I'm into this. What's going on? What's the deal here? The mom contacts someone and says, it's happened. He's come for us. Somebody's coming for them. Something big here is happening. The dad says, you know what to do. They've planned for this moment. They don't really shove it in our face, but we can figure out something's going down, someone's on their way, and we figure out really quickly someone's here, and he looks like he's from the Empire, and who he is Director Krennic, a key villain who I really love. He's confident, sarcastic, even though later when we see him in front of his superiors, obviously not so strong, but when he's not, he's big time. And when Galen tells him, Galen is the name of the little girl's father, and he tells him he's been living a lonely life since his wife died, and Krennic gives a kind of sad look, says, "Oh, my condolences," and we know he's completely sarcastic. Even though he's able to look like he's really sad, you just sense it that this guy's being, he doesn't have to shove it in our face. We know he's being sarcastic, and then of course he says, "Search the house," and it's like, yeah, he was not being serious when he said "my condolences," and it's really intense, the whole scene. And I'm not going to go through every shot of the whole film, but I love how it kicks off. And eventually, the little girl goes into a little secret area under the ground. She's rescued by Saw Gerrera, who's going to raise her, and he says, "Come, my child. We have a long ride ahead of us." And bam, Rogue One, a Star Wars story, cool music. Already, I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? Is this actually gonna be good? What's happening? What's going on here? So anyway, we skip ahead to Jyn Erso as an adult, and at this point we kind of jump around to different locations and start learning new characters, and it takes some time to figure out what's going on. It's actually cool. It kind of does remind me of the Bourne movies, where they kind of jump around, they show you where they're at, location. And there's a point early on where I'm a little worried, like, oh gosh, I hope I can follow this thing. It's looking to become a little complicated, but everything comes together. Everything becomes clear. It's not really a problem. But for the first time viewer, it may be a little tough to follow and figure out what's going on and why certain things are happening. And we're going and jumping around, different individuals doing different things in different places, but it all comes together. And then you're like, okay, I get it now. One of the individuals we meet is Cassian. He's played by Diego Luna, great actor. And Cassian is a serious guy who is completely 100% in on the rebellion. He will do whatever is necessary, and right away he has to kill someone who seems kind of like his friend, seems like a good guy, but he's kind of freaking out. The guy's freaking out. He's about to blow everything. He's about to blow the whole mission. He's probably going to get them both killed. Something like that. Anyway, I was impressed that we're shown that this is serious. This is serious business. This guy is a protagonist on the good side, Cassian I mean, yet he kills a defenseless person for the greater cause. You want this rebellion to carry some weight? It just got some. The scenery's great, the visuals, dark, real. It's some serious Star Wars. And I'm loving it at this point. I'm already into this, like, wow, please keep this up. And anyway, Jyn, like I said, is an adult. She's been captured by the good people, the rebellion, because they need her help. And Mon Mothma introduces her to Cassian, who I just talked about, and he explains the whole deal to her, and in turn to us. Everything's natural. We learn what's going on through the dialogue. Nothing is weird. Nothing takes me out of the movie. And that's what's great about it. And we find out they need her help to get Saw Gerrera, the guy who raised her, because he's completely off his rocker. He's left the rebellion, and he has information about her father, who is the main architect for the Death Star, which is being built and is able to blow up entire planets. And it's cool in this movie because there's whispers about it. People talk like we do here. When we hear rumors, hey, I heard such and such. Did you hear that? You hear like, hey, I heard it can blow up entire planets. It's just like, wow, this is, at this point in time, it's just speculation. People are hearing that the Empire's building this thing. Of course, we know shortly after this movie, A New Hope takes place, and the thing actually will blow up an entire planet. So Jyn reluctantly agrees to help. And I like her attitude early on. She kind of doesn't want to get involved. She's like, whatever. It never had the luxury of political opinion. She's tough, and I like her. But they convince her to help, and it seems like her plan is kind of just to do as little as possible until they let her go. And we're going to meet Cassian's droid, K2SO. He's kind of the comic relief of the film. It's not too out of place. It's pretty good comedy. I mean, Star Wars films have some comedy. It's just finding the right balance, and I think they did okay here. Not saying every joke worked, but it was certainly better than Dumb and Dumber. Oh, excuse me. I mean, The Last Jedi. Sorry, I get those mixed up sometimes. So K2SO is Cassian's droid, and I love the dynamic between them. K2SO constantly being funny, kind of trying to keep things light. Cassian, straight as can be. He does not engage in the humor. He never breaks character. He might have smiled here or there, but he never joins in on the fun, if you will. I mean, he's just like all about the mission. It's awesome. One time K2SO slaps him in the face because he's kind of pretending that he's holding him prisoner for the Empire who's watching him. He wants to pretend that he's prisoner. So he slaps him in the face, says, quiet, quiet, you prisoner. And he slaps him. And it's funny, a little bit later, after they fought off the enemy and they need to kind of get going, K2SO, the droid, tells Cassian, oh, sorry about the slapping you. And Cassian's just like, go back to the ship. Wait for my call. Straight business. And it's like, so what? So what, Crab? What does this mean to me? It just, I don't know. It's just like they have opportunities to try to shove stuff in our face or shove humor in our face. They don't do it. Everyone stays in character. And this kind of happens a couple of times between the two. I just enjoy it because that's Cassian. He doesn't engage. And he shouldn't. That's not in his character. Later on, we meet a couple of friends, Chirrut and Baze, who join the rebellion. Love these guys. Great dynamic also. Chirrut showed some amazing fighting skills. After Cassian witnesses it, he kind of lightly just asks, is he a Jedi? I mean, just very briefly, is he a Jedi? And we find out no. But it's just a small mention. People know about the Jedi. And this guy's skills being off the chart, and he's blind, and he's obviously a very strong believer in the Force. He uses the cool phrase, I'm one with the Force is with me. So he may not be Force sensitive in the same way Luke and Anakin are, but he obviously is able to feel the Force and use it for protection and assistance in kind of a spiritual way. So it's really interesting and cool to bring the Force into this movie without going overboard and being ridiculous about it. Not that anybody would do that. So anyway, I'm loving the characters. I'm loving their personalities. At one point, they all get locked up in a jail cell, and I love this scene. They all sit around and kind of conversate about serious topics, but it feels very authentic. Chirrut is basically praying and repeating, I'm one with the Force is one with me. There's kind of a back and forth on whether, does that do any good to help open this door? Even his buddy doesn't really believe in his Force, the Force thing that he thinks, and Cassian doesn't seem to anyway. He says, you know what, I think the Force and I are starting to have different priorities. It's a short conversation, but it just gives off the vibe of being real people in a cell talking about these kind of things. And I don't know why I love it so much, but even that little scene works really well for me. Chirrut's actually style of talking, his delivery is funny, but not in your face funny. He just has a natural humor to him, and it's a really cool side of him that I enjoy. Every character blends in well with the others just to make a really awesome dynamic. And then they meet an Imperial pilot in the next cell over who also joins in, and he kind of has his own personality. That's really cool. He's not so serious like Cassian. He's a little lighter personality. Not a super awesome fighting guy, but he's a great pilot. He's gone through some weird stuff earlier in the movie. I won't get into all the details, but he kind of loses his mind for a while, but he comes to his senses, and by the end, he's a key character and a major player in stealing those Death Star plans. When the rebellions get to the planet where the Death Star plans are, the way the information is relayed, the problems that they have to overcome, it all feels so natural. It feels so real. I don't feel like I do in the other movies where, oh, we need this to happen, so let's just make it happen. We don't need a good excuse. It's like, this movie's better planned out, better written, not so lazy. And the pilot who I mentioned, his name is Bodhi, by the way, I think is how it's pronounced. He's in communications with some of the other rebels. When they get to the place that they need to steal those plans, he's talking about it. You need to get to the tower. Patch us over when you get there. Get one of those guys. They need to find a master switch. A little later, one of the other guys comes back. What does the master switch look like? Can you describe it? What does it look like? And hearing all this go back and forth, it's like I'm having flashbacks to when I worked in communications in the Army in a war zone, believe it or not. And these conversations take place. Stuff gets crazy, and you need to talk back and forth, and it's not always smooth. I mean, you try to make it smooth as you can, but you need this info, you relay this info, and it's happening, and it feels a little more real than movies that don't even know what they're talking about. It's like, what is this? I can't really explain it. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. This is really cool. This feels more natural, feels more real. Going back a little earlier, there's an argument on the ship between Cassian and Jyn Erso. Basically, Cassian says, hey, we're going to go take a look and see what's going on at the Death Star, where they're building the Death Star, where Jen's dad is helping build it, and they just want to get some intelligence and information. In actuality, Cassian is supposed to go kill him. Everyone knows it on the ship, or everyone's figured it out, and finally Jyn does too. He doesn't actually do it, but they argue over it. She tells him, you lied to me. The whole argument is very convincing. Great script work. It includes some dialogue you just don't hear in Star Wars anymore. You know, he said, I had every chance to pull the trigger. Did I? You may as well have. I had orders. And she says something like, orders you know are wrong? You may as well be a stormtrooper. Something like that. He says, you don't know what you're talking about. I don't get to decide when and where I care about something. This is the rebellion. This is real stuff. I've been living this since I was 6 years old. And they argue over it. And I'm feeling it. Amazing acting, great dialogue, real stuff, strong stuff. You know what I mean? Not some paper thin, fake, please buy toys, we just want your money bullshit. Okay? Not some save the animals, the children are the future feminist rights. No, this is war. Convince me when I watch a movie this is happening in a galaxy far, far away. Rogue One does it. I'm really surprised so many people dislike this movie. I love it, and if you didn't notice, in the entire review I've done so far, I have not even mentioned Darth Vader or Tarkin. Why? Take them out and I still love this movie. This is not a fanboy screaming, oh, Darth Vader! Oh, Tarkin! Oh, original trilogy stuff. Having said that, of course it's cool to see Darth Vader and Tarkin, especially because they belong there. It made sense for them to be there. We're telling the story of the Death Star shortly before Episode 4, A New Hope. Obviously, both these gentlemen are key players in the construction of this weapon. Why would they not appear? Why would they not be around? And they're not overused. And as for the Darth Vader badass moment at the end, it's amazing. It's that final step to get those plans in the right hands. The rebels got the plans transmitted to the lieutenant. From there, they had to get them to a safe place. They had to get them where we know eventually they're going to land, which is Leia and then to R2-D2. But at the end of this movie, Vader, who else is going to go after them? Some old man or something like Tarkin? No. Vader's going to go after them and try to get those plans before they get into the wrong hands. They're passing the plans down, trying to get them to that door, through that door that's locked. Vader's got the saber out. He's throwing these guys around. It's intense. Yeah, we know the outcome. That's a natural problem of a movie like this. We already know the outcome. We know the plans are going to get through and get into Princess Leia's hand. We know that the first time we watch it, spoilers or not. We know that's going to happen. But they do everything possible to make it an intense, fun, and amazing and badass movie. I'm sorry, but I love Rogue One, and I love Tarkin in it. If only saying it would make it so. I can't do his accent. Great lines. And in the end, when the intensity is at its maximum, you may fire when ready. I mean, at the most awesome, intense, powerful moment, music building, the dark and proud moment when the mission is about to be realized and it starts to sink in what's really going to happen here. This is an effective, excellent movie. This is what a good movie looks like to me. A very good, a great movie. Not that I have no gripes. I mentioned earlier, for a first-time viewer, maybe the jumping around early on could be a problem, but it's not that big a deal. I didn't need the R2-D2 C3PO cameo. Fan service for the sake of fan service is my pet peeve. And really, instead of some obvious fan service moment where C3PO says something I don't even remember what, why don't they just show a shot of the little ship where Leia is? Before she gets those plans, find a way to kind of just slip R2 in there without shoving him in the middle of the screen, just off to the side somewhere where our eye catches him and we think, what's R2 doing there? Oh, wait, of course he's there. He's about to get those plans from Leia. So he kind of fits there, and we know it's a little sign. We know why he's there. They don't have to shove him in our face. I'm not saying that would have made the movie necessarily better, but if you're going to do fan service, I just prefer try to make it natural, try to make it fit, try to be subtle about it, but try to make there be a purpose for that. And we can feel something like, oh, that's sweet, dude. That's badass. Instead of just, oh, R2-D2 C3PO, here they are. Oh, thank you for showing me them. Now I'm supposed to feel good? Anyway, you can say, well, Darth Vader wasn't subtle. Again, Darth Vader was part of the plot. He was not just shoved in there for no reason at all. I mean, maybe they added that badass moment because it was Darth Vader and it made the movie better, but he still fit there. It didn't create any plot holes. It's not like having Anakin build C-3PO or young Obi-Wan and R2 being best of friends, Chewie and Yoda being homeboys. If you can't see the difference, then I don't know what else to say. Jyn Erso's attitude does change in the movie. It's been criticized a lot. Like, I kind of get why people criticize it. But if you watch the movie, something does happen. It happens after she sees the hologram of her father, who explains to her why he's helping with the Death Star, and that he's actually giving it a weakness so it can be destroyed. She gets extremely emotional, starts crying. I mean, we see her, what this is doing to her, and changes, her attitude starts to change, and of course then her father basically dies in her arms. I can see why there'd be some changes there, not to mention the fact that she's had time to think about everything that's going on, and people don't, that's funny. People complain about these characters don't have any character develop, which I'll get to in a minute. They don't have any character develop in this movie. They don't have any arcs in this movie. Why is Jen Erso suddenly have hope? In the beginning, she was like this. You can't have. Well, which one is it? Do you want arcs or do you not want arcs? Because Jen Erso apparently has an arc in this movie, and you don't like that arc. But the other ones don't really have arcs, which I'm going to get to in a minute, but they're supposed to. I just don't get in. Anyway, let me move on. Yes, she goes from this gritty, she's still gritty, she's still tough. At first she's like, I don't care if I give a crap, do what you guys want, I don't want any part of this. Now she's like, hope is what rebellions are built on. Well, she didn't make that line up herself, that was she borrowed it from Cassian, but yes, she changed her tune. In order to do what she was going to do to help, she had to get on board, and she did get on board, and there was a reason for it. They didn't just have her change abruptly for no reason. There were lots of reasons for it. If you watch it, the movie, it doesn't feel unnatural, not to me. I felt it was fine. Yes, she did have some character developments. As for character development elsewhere, trying to make character arcs for everyone would have just bogged down the movie. It was a better idea to make likable characters who have their own personalities, who we can connect with and enjoy watching as a group as they work together, they plan together, they argue, they joke, the whole group. I love these characters. I don't have time to go into detail for each one, but they're all really cool. They're all likable. They don't need complex arcs. Not every character needs to have one to make a good movie. In fact, giving them all one would have made this one much worse. This all happens in a very short period of time. They don't have time to all learn a lesson and change and become a new person by the end. I mean, I hope that's not what people think that they should have done here. Well, what kind of lessons are supposed to learn? Do you want more lessons on the evils of child slavery and animal cruelty? We could put that in Rogue One. Or do you want a freaking movie? So anyway, this film did everything it could. Naturally, because it's not telling a story of a person like Luke who we can connect with and follow his journey, it's at a bit of a disadvantage. It's telling the story of, basically a war story of a bunch of rebels who stole the Death Star plans, and we basically know the end result of the movie going in. But I still give it 8.5 out of 10 Lucas's, which is an excellent score. Borderline 9. Borderline as good as Return of the Jedi. I give Return of the Jedi the edge because of the emotions and the power in that film with Luke in the throne room at the end, and along with the fact that it's excellent too. It's not that much wrong with that movie either. It's really good. The original version anyway. Now, don't get me wrong, I'd rather watch Rogue One any day of the week over Return of the Jedi Special Edition, which sucks. I'm sorry. That special edition is bad. So anyway, all the hate Rogue One gets, I don't know why. I tried really hard when I watched it recently to see what's the problem, and I just couldn't see it. And maybe I'm just dumb, but I love it, and it feels like absolutely night and day compared to The Last Jedi in intelligence and dialogue and almost everything. I just don't know why people prefer The Last Jedi. But I mean, it's not that they're wrong. If that's their opinion, then that's their opinion. If The Last Jedi is just more someone's style of movie, I guess it's fine. But from just a neutral standpoint, which is the better film, I would absolutely have to say it's not even close. But hey, it's an opinion at the end of the day. So call me dumb, call me dumb, call me dumb. See you guys later. Thank you for joining me. May the force be with you. Bye-bye.